Lawmakers in U.S. Congress have moved to block President Donald Trump's order to withdraw U.S. troops from Germany. It's a rare instance of the Democratic and Republican parties working together these days to pass legislation. The final version of the annual defense bill, which still needs to be voted on, voices support for the continued presence of U.S. forces in Germany, and it would require an impact assessment before any troops are pulled out. In July, the Pentagon announced it would withdraw about a third of the 36,000 troops based in Germany. Well, Stefan Simons is standing by for us in Washington. Stefan, how likely is it that U.S. troops will not be withdrawn from Germany now?
I think the likelihood just increased. Actually, it is very likely that there won't be any withdrawal, at least not under the reins of this administration, of the Trump administration. As you pointed out, the defense budget law package, which is 4,500 pages, that is a double whopper there. Is saying that they first want Congress, Senate, and House of Representatives want to hear from the defense secretary in a report about if this really makes sense, if this is not harming national security. And only after this report comes in, and only then Congress will give its okay or not. And no more than 120 days after this report arrives is any troop reduction possible. And now you do the math. This administration and Donald Trump as president of the United States will be 50 more days in power. And then it will be Joe Biden and his administration. And there is expectation by many, many experts and observers here and by anybody in Washington, D.C., political Washington, D.C., that he will revoke this plan to pull American troops out of Germany.
Okay, this is a massive bill. It contains lots of data and lots of steps that Donald Trump may or may not approve of. Could he veto this bill?
Yeah, he actually already said he will veto this bill, but not for that reason, not because now Congress is putting another obstacle for his plans to reduce troops out of Germany or out of Europe in front of him. He wants to veto is because he wants to have a law in this package, which has nothing to do with military budget at all, which regulates online platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Google, and so on, because the president feels that they need to be now held liable for what? For treating him and conservative issues unfairly. And this is why he threatened to veto this bill.
Stefan, thank you very much for filling us in there. That was our correspondent, Stefan Simons, in Washington.
Joining me now from Brussels is our NATO correspondent, Terry Schultz. Terry, there was just a meeting of foreign ministers at NATO. What did you hear about this decision there?
Well, Gerhard, this didn't come up publicly at this foreign ministers meeting, and part of the reason for that is because the U.S. actually has the right to make this decision on its own, as President Trump announced in the summer. What was disturbing for NATO at the time, in addition to the fact that it, of course, does not want to see any U.S. troops removed from Europe, is that there was no consultation given. The German government wasn't warned. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg wasn't warned. So there was more concern about how this was done than perhaps what the actual eventual movements might be. But as Stefan just explained, there may be bureaucratic reasons why it doesn't happen at all. And we got some hints about that earlier this week ahead of the NATO ministerial from U.S. Ambassador Kay Bailey Hutchison. She said that she expects this decision to be made by the incoming administration. And that's not all she told us about what the plans may be. Let's hear from her.
I want to say that the announcement about troops in Germany was also an announcement that all the troops that were there before would be in Europe. It's just whether or not they stay in Germany or whether they are moved to other places in certain instances. So that has not been, well, it has been put forward, but it certainly will be open for another administration to look at where it is at the time that they take over.
So, in fact, when President Trump made this announcement, he said very clearly that he thought he may be bringing troops home from Europe, out of Europe, back to the United States. And that is not what the ambassador is saying now. At the time, he said he may put some of them in Poland, in Italy, here in Belgium. And now she's saying that there will not be a reduction, even in these paper plans that may never come to be, that the U.S. troop presence in Europe would be reduced. So that's very important for Europeans to hear. The allies will be very interested to hear that. But as again, as Stefan mentioned, the fact that this will be pushed to the Biden administration, even by bureaucratic hurdles, makes it much more likely we will not be seeing a movement of troops out of Germany at all.
Terry Schultz there in Brussels for us. Thank you.